I think that there is a basis of weird love there. And I think that's what makes Fisk a really interesting character, because he does have the capacity to love. He just loves in a twisted, messed up way.
Amy, first of all, it's a pleasure to meet you. I loved Ekko. I saw the first 3 episodes, and then I just finished the second, the back two. Amazing series. You know what I loved about it? It feels like, oh, it's obviously definitely more grounded and gritty, but it almost feels like Ozark and Sons of Anarchy, kind of like in the MCU to me. This is your first time working in the MCU sandbox. How does the MCU process differ from other projects you've worked on, if at all?
I will say it is incredibly collaborative, and it was, I've said this to everyone there. It's one of the best jobs I've ever had, to get to play with their characters and to have the support. And they're up for anything. They are very hands-on. And it was just a really incredible experience that I'm very grateful for.
That's awesome. Now, we know now that the Marvel Netflix shows are canon to the MCU Sacred Timeline, which is incredible. Fans went wild for that. Did you know that prior to working on the show that was going to be a part of it?
Yeah, we had talked about that a lot, especially in terms of Fisk. So that was really exciting. And to get to build on that character that Vincent D'Onofrio so beautifully portrays was a thrill. Probably one of my favorite characters I've ever gotten to write.
Oh, really? Is that true?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Vincent D'Onofrio, even the way he does his voice, I swear he is so intimidating. He jumps out at you at the screen, and he makes me terrified for my own life. Now, Ekko has such a rich cultural background. Can you talk about working with the Choctaw Nation and bring that authenticity into the show?
Working with the Choctaw Nation was invaluable. I'm so grateful that we were able to do that. When we were in Atlanta on set, representatives from Choctaw Nation were literally sitting next to me in Video Village. So to get to be able to have that sounding board, to say, hey, does this work? Does this not work? And we were constantly having discussions, on set about being as authentic as possible, as specific as possible. Even on one of the sound stages in Atlanta, there were people making food all the food you see on the show was made right there by people from Choctaw Nation. And it was just incredible. I've never had that kind of access. And I think it really helped the storytelling immensely.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Choctaw Nation, they were involved all the way from pre-production all the way to the end of this, right?
Yes, very much so.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, look, I love the character of Maya Lopez. What were you most excited to explore with that character in this new gritty MCU Spotlight show?
I think the thing I was most excited about was getting to see a complicated, complex female anti-hero. I think we've seen a lot of male anti-heroes, and to get to tell that story as a woman and to get to see a female do those things was really exciting to me. And so that is the thing that gravitated me toward the project the most. In addition to getting to see this woman confront and explore her past. We're all a product of our past, for better or worse. And that is definitely what she's reconciling with, sort of these two families, these two pasts, Kingpin in New York, and her family in Oklahoma, and what you do with that and how you build on that. I think was really exciting.
You know what? This show also had amazing supporting characters, and I was hoping that they all made it through the end, which they did. And because I swear I love Biscuits, and I was worried for that man the whole way through. Talk to me about some of these other characters that we get to see in Maya's life.
The family drama element of the show, I think, makes it very unique. And to get to bring these rich, small town characters, even, the family, but also just the people in the town that live in the town and interact with the family characters. Biscuits was certainly really fun to write. comic relief, and Cody brought that character to life so beautifully. But I also found the relationship with her grandmother to be very emotional. Obviously we had Tantu Cardinals, who's a wonderful actress. But to get to explore that relationship, my grandmother lived with me. It's a very important relationship. We don't all get to experience that, unfortunately. And I feel like to get to explore these two women, these two very strong women, and their past, I really enjoyed that.
This show feels like a continuation of Hawkeye, but it also picks up almost seamlessly with those Netflix shows. Can you talk about exploring Maya's relationship with Wilson Fisk in this? Because it is intense and it keeps you on the edge of your seat every single time they're in a scene together.
That was one of my favorite parts of the show, was getting to explore this relationship. We in the room, we kept imagining in our heads like what it was like to be sort of raised by this man.
Sure.
And I think the scene with the ice cream man sort of informs everything that you need to know about how she was raised by this person. Children are watching and they see how the adults act. And I think that was really interesting to me, to show the story of a woman who realizes this man who was looming so large in her life loved her, but was in his own twisted way, but was manipulating her. And for her to be able to get out from under his thumb, I think is very empowering.
Sure.
And for her to hope that he'll be able to get out of under his own thumb. And unfortunately he can't. Right. But I think that there is a basis of weird love there. And I think that's what makes Fisk a really interesting character, because he does have the capacity to love. He just loves in a twisted, messed up way.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, the Wilson Fisk characters, simply because I mean, I know what he's capable of, but you see it like still underneath all that, there's this boy that was affected by this deep trauma in his life. And I love watching Vincent D'Onofrio navigate those waters with that character. It's quite impressive. Now, the Marvel Spotlight format allows for so much more in-depth exploration for a mature audience. How did you take advantage of that format to delve into Ekko's backstory and character development?
Well, I think what was really freeing about it, like the TVMA of it all, is because we got to show the grittier side of what would really happen with these people. I mean, obviously it's a TV show, so there's a heightened element, but I think that to get to show the brutality of this world that she grew up in, the brutality of this man who co-raised her, and her own brutality as an anti-hero herself, as a criminal, and how I think if you get to see it in the TVMA format, it kind of you understand a lot more of the emotion of these people, because you're having that visceral reaction yourself to what they experienced.
Now, were there any specific comic book story arcs or elements that served as a major inspiration for the Ekko series, or did you aim to create more of like an original narrative for the character?
I think, we talked a lot about deviating from the comics somewhat. I mean, I know probably the biggest place is her powers. And we talked a lot about her powers in the room, and ultimately sort of settled on a storyline where her powers were tied to her emotional story and her emotional growth. So I think that's a big place where we deviated from the comics. And I think, it's not until Maya has that moment with her mother and sort of heals her heart a little bit that she can fully come into her power. So it's very much tied into her reconciling her past and moving forward emotionally.
Now, was there anything that you guys discussed or even wrote that didn't quite make it into the series for time restraints, or maybe it just didn't fit in, that you really wish was there?
I think there was a little bit more of Bonnie's backstory that I do miss a little bit, but I think that it's sort of the sliding doors effect that Bonnie had the life that Maya might have had if Maya had stayed in Oklahoma, and getting to see those two sides. But yeah, that's probably the one thing that I miss a little bit, but for the most part, I think pretty much everything was represented on screen for sure.
Can you share any favorite moments or scenes from the series that were particularly exciting for you or challenging to write?
I think one of the most exciting things I've ever seen filmed is the Daredevil fight.
Oh my God, yes.
Sydney Freeland is an amazing director. The fact that was one shot, I had never seen anything on that scale shot before. The stunt work, the camera work, the choreography that went into that was a feat in and of itself. And that was really, really exciting. Like I had this moment on set where I was like, wow, I can't even believe I get to watch this being filmed just as a fan of television, let alone someone who got to work on the show. Was just seeing what went into a fight like that. I've never had the opportunity to see that on that scale before.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. That first episode when that happened, my jaw dropped to the floor, and I think I had to play it back like 4 times because it's a long fight scene as well.
Yes.
So remember. Now, speaking of Daredevil, I know we got the Daredevil cameo in episode 1. Was there any other Netflix characters or MCU characters that were on the table to show up at all? Or was it really primarily just going to be Ekko's story throughout the whole time?
Yeah, we really were committed to it. Obviously it's exciting and it's the MCU and you have these characters that you know are going to pop in when you're telling an Ekko story. But we really wanted, it is Ekko's story and it's her show and these people are a part of her life, but we always in the room brought it back to her and her point of view, and what she was going through emotionally was very important for us.
This is the first time Disney Plus has dropped a Marvel series all at the same time. Can you talk about the discussions or the decision process, why that was made to drop Ekko all at once?
I wasn't privy to those decision-making process, but I was really excited when I found out they were dropping it all at once, because I think that especially when there's some great action sequences and all of that excitement, but I also think it's a very emotional story, and to get to sit in that emotion and not have to have it be broken up by waiting for the next episode, I think is really important as a through line to get to binge that if you chose to binge it, but and really feel that emotion build and change over the course of those 5 episodes. And I think to get to see it all at once, it feels more complete and more visceral, I think.
Yeah, and also, I didn't even put this together, but I noticed that Ekko's now in the Defenders section in Disney Plus, and I just realized that all of those Defenders that came out on Netflix all also dropped on the same day. So maybe, there's something there. Who knows?
There
maybe
you go.
Now that you worked on Ekko, what would you like to explore with Maya's story in season 2? If there is a season 2.
If we're lucky enough to have a season 2, I think I could watch the Maya Kingpin show all day.
Yes.
I think that story, she's not done with him and he's not done with her. So I think there's like unlimited storytelling possibilities there.
Speaking of that, we got a nice little post-credit scene of what we think is next for Wilson Fisk. Where would you like to see Ekko and Wilson Fisk go next in the MCU?
What's interesting about these two characters is that they both know each other so well. Right. And I think that what Maya's power is over Fisk is that she knows that he loves her. And that's a lot of power. And she knows him probably better than a lot of people. And vice versa. And so I think to have these two emotional chess players manipulate each other, I think could be really interesting.
Are there any other Marvel characters you'd like to get a chance to write for in the future?
So many, right? Oh gosh. I mean, I think that I would love to just work with Marvel again in the future on anything, honestly. They have so many great characters and so many strong female characters that I would love to see on screen. So yes, if I got the opportunity, I would take any of it.
Amazing. Amy, thank you so much for your time. I loved Ekko. It's absolutely incredible. Like I said, I love this grounded, grittier version of an MCU show, and it does feel like a more intimate story in the MCU. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you so much.